Dear students, welcome to the English class. In this video, I'll explain you about the grammar structure of present simple tense as well as its usage in real life. In addition, after this lesson, you will be able to talk about your friends' family. To formalize your knowledge of these topics, you will be provided with exercises. Let's move on to the next slide. We need to use the present simple a lot in English. The present simple tense is the most basic tense in English and uses the base form of the verb except for the verb be. We use present simple to talk about facts or generalizations. The present simple can also indicate that speaker believes that a fact was true before, is true now, and will be true in the future. It's not important if the speaker is correct about the fact. It's also used to make generalizations about people or things. For example, I live in Poland. It's fact. Cats like milk. Moving to the next usage of present simple, we use present simple to talk about regular habits or daily routines. We use the simple present to express the idea that an action is repeated or usual. The action can be a habit, a hobby, a daily event, or something that often happens. For example, they swim every day, and it is a routine. The school opens every morning at 7 a.m. It is also a routine. The third usage is when you want to talk about your feelings and emotions. Every moment when you express your feelings, we use present simple tense. For example, I love biking, they like pizza, and so on. Moreover, we use present simple when we want to talk about generally accepted truth. A good example of this case would be a sentence, Sunday comes after Saturday, and everyone agrees with you. Next slide illustrates the grammar usage of present simple tense. In affirmative sentences, we use the structure described in the slide. We form the present tense using the base form of the infinitive without the to. We use subject or noun. After that, we use verb without to. In general, in the third person, which are he, she, it, we add s to the verb. Next slide explains the rules for the third person singular, which are he, she, it. In general, when we use verbs with he, she, it, we add s to the verb. For example, work, works, swim, swims. But for the verbs that end in o, ch, sh, double s, x, or z, we add es in the third person. For example, go ends on o. Because of that, we add es, and go changes into goes. Kiss, double s, and the rule says that we have to add es to the verb. We have kisses. For the verbs that end in a consonant y, we remove the y and add ies. For example, study, the verb ends on y, and because of that we change y into I and add es. Study, studies. But we should note that the four verbs that end in a vowel plus y, for example, play, vowel is a and y. We just add s, not es. For example, play, plays, say, says. To make a negative sentence in English, we normally use don't or doesn't with all verbs, except to be and modal verbs. For example, affirmative, you speak English, and negative will be, you don't speak English. You will see that we add don't between the subject and the verb. We use don't when we use subject I, you, we, or they. When the subject is he, she, or it, we add doesn't instead of don't. Notice that the letter S at the end of the verb in affirmative sentences disappears in the negative sentences because S goes to does, and because of that we don't use S with the verbs when we use he, she, it. Short forms of do not and does not are don't and doesn't. To make a question in English, we normally use do or does. It's normally put at the beginning of the question. For example, affirmative, you speak English, and the interrogative question is do you speak English? We use do when the subject is I, you, we, or they. When the subject is he, she, it, we add does at the beginning to make an affirmative sentence a question. We don't use do or does in questions that have the verb to be or modal verbs. For short answers, we use do or don't. If the question begins with do, we use do for short questions. For example, do I play? And the short answer for this question would be yes, I do, or no, I don't. For does, we use does. For example, does he play? Yes, he does. No, he doesn't. Fill in the gaps with the correct present simple form of the verbs in brackets. I will help you with the first example. James, football at all. In the brackets we have not like. It means that we should make a negative sentence. Negative form for this sentence is does not, because James is here. We have James doesn't like football at all. The next slide is about my friend's family. You have to read this text and answer to these questions. Answer to these questions using true or false method. For example, I will help you with the first question. Oscar has a big family. Is it true or false? Oscar has a big family. Reading this text, we understand that Oscar's family is not very large, and the question states that Oscar has a big family. It is false because Oscar has a family which is not very large. You have to learn the words in bold. For example, young woman, institute, daughter, and so on. This is the end of our lesson. Thank you.